Happy New Year, you seekers of love you. I'm really excited to have you here with me today on January 1st of 2020 for my first general pick-a-card reading. I want to take a quick second just to let you know why it's such an unusual pick-a-card reading. And there's usually really two things. The first is that I'm not going to have the cards pre-picked where you can choose the deck that I'm going to be using. I'm going to give you the option of 3 objects to choose from, and then when you choose that, when you click on the little button to go to it, then you would see me actually pick the cards live on camera. So it's kind of a little unusual, but the second thing is that the deck that I'm going to be using is a new deck that Spirit's been working with me on, and I call it the Loved from Above Adventure cards, or the Deep Dive deck. So that's exciting. We get more into that, as we go through the reading. I kind of explain how it works. So we'll get to that really quick. It is a new deck. It's not available to the public yet. They're cards I've made from home, so they're a little rough. And these are my first videos, so they're a little rough too. So I appreciate your patience as you bear with me as we both grow in this process together. So I'm really excited. So let's get to it. All right, so to choose which reading you want, we're going to go with number 1, which is a little tree of life. Number 2, the crystal ball. And number 3, this beautiful crystal. So if you need to pause just to take a look to see which one you want, we'll go ahead and start with number 1. Right, welcome to reading number 1. If you chose the little tree of life, then this is for reading for you. I'm going to be using my new deck that I'm developing. It's the Loved from Above Adventure cards, which I also call the Deep Dive deck. So I'll kind of explain as we're going through here what we're looking at. So we start off with this stack 1, which talks about the fear emotion that you're currently experiencing, that your guides or spirit are wanting to bring to your attention just for the beginning of this new year. So what emotional wave are you surfing is what we're going to start off with. So we'll go ahead and shuffle here and see what we get that comes up for you today. And I'll kind of just step through the process here as we're going. All right, there we go. So the fear right now that Spirit is wanting you to take a look at is stress. And I can't imagine, sometimes in life, and a lot of times in life, we feel like we have the weight of the world on our shoulders. And the core of that really has to do with there's so many things that we're taught that are important in our lives. From when we're very young, we're filled up with this long list of things that are supposed to happen, all the shoulds, all the supposed tos, and those just start becoming planets that just seem almost unbearable and unable to, keep us up to that place of peace. So part of what Spirit has given on these cards is a way to transform this fear into love. And so they have it down here where it says, focus on the important. And you might have heard in life, there's urgent and there's important. A lot of times the urgent things aren't really important, but that's where we invest a lot of our time, is into the urgent things. So, when we look at all the list of things that we feel has to get done, sometimes we can look at that list and just go, you know what? I don't think that we have to worry about that. We can put that off for later. What's important for today? And when you really look at the list becomes very small when you look at what is most important. Really, we can get into questioning what that is all about. Why do we have things on the important list? And maybe they don't need to be on there. So that's the beginning there. And what we'll do, kind of the process as we go through here is we add these two numbers together, which that 3 and 3, it'll be 6. And it's a minus. So once we move on to the next deck, once I finish shuffling, we'll take 6 cards from the bottom. So that's kind of how the little process works here. So next we'll look at the fears, which are the root of what's going on with this fear emotion. So what is sparking my emotional wave of stress? So we'll go ahead and shuffle here, and then we'll go ahead and take 6 cards from the bottom. And I can't imagine you're having stress with all the holidays ending, and I know how that can be. All right. So we'll go ahead and take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. So, missing child, this card can represent, several things, of course. One of the items is, of course, if you are trying to have children and you just haven't been able to make that happen yet, or if you have, a child or a parent that you're having trouble with communication with, you're not talking to one another, or you're separated, either, maybe they're in the military, where they can't be contacted because they're overseas, or, they're across the country and you don't get to talk to them a whole lot. Or it might even be your child just went off to college and is the first one out of the house. There's a lot of items that can have stress. And also, being a parent, I know that it can be difficult, that you're wanting your children to have the perfect life and to have everything, work out for them where they don't get hurt and that they are happy all the time. And we can take all that on. One of the things that Spirit has given, if you are feeling that where you're missing your children, or if you don't have children and you want children and you don't have them yet, or even if you have a parent, parents have passed away or they're not available nearby, it talks about mothering others. So, you can seek out and find those individuals. Everyone might have parents, but they may not have emotional parents. So there's people everywhere that could use an unconditionally loving parent. So if you look around and find out, how can you share that love and give that support to people that are around you? If it's a parent that's missing, there's so many nursing homes, or that, widowed, gentleman or woman down the street who no one visits, their children don't come to visit, and they're, just kind of isolated. You can reach out to someone like that too and share that, love with them. So that is some, things that you can look at with that. So for this reading, that's kind of what they're focusing on, is just that missing child. They also kind of mentioned that if you feel that you missed out on your childhood, where you feel like your childhood was stolen from you, that is also something that could be resonating with you with this card. And for that too, you can be your own parent. I know when I was going through counseling, they did, this process where I actually went back, and they took me back to the first time that I walked into the house, from school by myself, and I think it was like in first grade, and I freaked out because I was all alone, and I was scared. When they took me through that process, I actually had this picture in my head. It was like a picture-in-picture where my adult, self walked in, through one way, and my little child self was walking this way, and we kind of saw each other. So I saw myself walking in as the adult, and I saw myself walking in as the child. And I walked over as the adult and picked myself up. And I just told myself that it was going to be okay. And with me as a child seeing me as an adult, and like, yeah, I kind of liked who I was. And I'm like, you know what? I lived. Look at you. And that kind of just helped heal some of that. So something like that, can be something that you can look at with that as well. And then we'll go on to this next one, which is called the contrast. What is at the root of my emotions? So we kind of are deep diving. This was on the, the surface of the waves. We went under the surface a little bit, and we'll go back, get down to, more of the contrast. Along with this contrast, we always ask ourselves, why do we come here to Earth? And I have a belief that, we're these powerful, supernatural, eternal spirit beings made from unconditional love. So we're these beings of light, and we come to this place of conditions, of our opposites, to be able to experience who we're not. And in experiencing who we're not, we understand more of who we are. It's kind of like, if you experience sadness, then you know the depths of happiness. If you feel the depths of anger, then you feel the breath of peace. So that's kind of what the contrast is all about. So we can look at here, was at the root of my emotions. So we'll look at that next. And again, oddly enough, 1 and 5 is 6. So we have a 6 and a 6. So that is interesting. I'll have to take a look at some numerology and see what that means too. So again, that's a -6. So we'll go 6 from the bottom here as soon as we're done with the shuffle here. Okay. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Spice cake mantra. So what the spice cake mantra is about is that the spice cake mantra basically says, I am my own spice cake. The love of my friends and family, they're the frosting on top of the spice cake. My accomplishments in life are the cherry on top of the frosting on top of the spice cake. And my intimate, loving relationships, those are the whipped topping on top of the cherry, on top of the frosting, on top of the spice cake. And if for some reason I don't have the whipped topping, I don't have the cherry, and if all those individuals who have such great love for me happen to not be on Earth anymore, because that's the only time these individuals would stop loving me on Earth, even if I lost all that, I would still be one awesome frickin' spice cake. And you can replace spice cake with whatever sweet you want. You have my permission. But that's the whole concept of the spice cake mantra. And that is just that's like the crux of what contrast is about. It shows us the difference between being solid in who we are and how we're drawn to look externally to fulfill ourselves outside of us into the conditional world. And of course, the whole design of the contrast is when we look outside of ourselves to the unstable, it's going to disappoint us because people change or they die. Situations never stay the same. Things deteriorate, they break, or they're stolen. So if we're defining ourselves by those external things, then we are unstable because our whole foundation is unstable. So that's kind of the journey here. So they're looking at, the core of it is that we're looking outside of ourselves for our definition. And that's where our stress is coming in. That's where this pain is coming in. So now we'll move on to the tools of light, which when we're looking at this, it's what can assist me in transforming my fear into love. So we'll take a look at this. Now this is interesting because There's only one card in the whole entire deck that has a 0, which means we'll see what Spirit has with this one. Which card will come out, because we don't have a guide to go and choose which card in the deck. So we'll take a look here and see either what pops out or when. Oh, there we go. So the power of now. And you can tell, I don't know if you can tell here and there, but these are the blue color. So it's not the past that we focus on or the future, but the now in this moment of this falling time right here. So the power of now really has us come out of the past, not to focus on, what we didn't have, and it doesn't have us focus on the future, saying when this happens, then I can be happy. It says you have everything you need right here, right now. And if we take a deep breath and we kind of, I know Eckhart Tolle, I think is how you say his last name, had a really good example of when you're in a submarine and you have these compartments. And one compartment is like the future, and one compartment is the past. And one compartment in the middle is right now. And if you take that door and close it and, tighten that off, and you shut the other door and tighten it off, it gets really quiet and peaceful in the now, in this moment right here. So it's a powerful power to work on. I know one thing I had to do a lot when I first started to discover this, I actually had to put like a little vibrating alarm on my phone. I set it for every hour, especially when I was at work, so that it would buzz in my pocket or buzz on my desk, and it would, get me to think again. Oh, that's right. Come back to the now. I even named it "Come Back to the Now." So I'll be like, oh, that's right. Breathe and come back to the moment. So that's one way that you can use that as well. All right. So as we continue kind of our dive, kind of understanding what we can do and what's going on, then we move into seeing the characters that are involved in this little drama that we have going on that's kind of causing all that. So that's why I call it seeing the characters. And this can be either the character that I'm playing or the other characters that are involved in that. So we'll take a look at that. Now we do have 5 is what we're going to do, because that's 4 plus 1 is 5 on that power of now. So we'll do 5 from the top this time, since it's not a negative number any longer, because we're rising above the surface here to understand what is happening there. All right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. All right. So this deck is all about the kind of the astrological signs, and they move from the sun all the way out to Pluto. And we actually have the moon. So the moon, of course, is about your inner world, your emotions, your reactions, your life patterns. So when it's looking at this, it's really talking about your inner world a little bit. One cool thing, though, is if you look at this, the sign that's ruled by the moon is Cancer. So, the qualities of either yourself or individuals that might be involved as other actors are, it could be a Cancer sign, and this is their birth dates here. That'll be 6/21 through 7/22. So, sentimental, sensitive, nurture, support, protect are some of the characteristics of a Cancer zodiac sign. Also, if you look at those dates, if that is something that could have spawned, especially during this time too, sometimes those dates have popped up for some people that I've given readings for as well. Or you could even be a Cancer. So, but that just kind of gives you some idea on what could be the characters that are going on in the play And I really feel like the focus for you is on your inner world, coming back to the missing child. Kind of really feel a lot of you have to do with that childhood. Feel like it's being stolen from you, and all those emotions and reactions and those life patterns that have happened there. One thing that kind of just jumped out to me with the life patterns is, one thing when we're dealing with parents in our lives, we forget that they were children sometimes. And some healing can come by doing a meditation where you close your eyes and you just see your parents shrink down to being children, and seeing their parents behind them, and then seeing their parents shrink down and the parents appear behind them, and you just kind of see that go back generations, and you see that we're these generation of children raising children, and no one give anyone any kind of user manual for kids. That's for sure. So we can understand that they're only did the best they could by what they were taught, and any change that they might have broken, any change that have been broken down as well. So that kind of has something to do with life patterns as well. All right. And then we go on to stack 6, which has to do with how does this situation fit into your spiritual path. So I call it the chakra atlas because, as you move up through the chakras, we start off with, the root chakra, which is where we face our fears and react. And, kind of like a bull, we see red and we go. And then we just transform through different phases in our life as we go all the way up to the, crown chakra. And that's when we're seeing more of an upper, higher life. So we'll take a look at that. So we've got another 6 on here, but that's going to be 8. So we will look at 8 once we get to that here. All right. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. There is only 8 cards. Well, there you go. So this is the Master card 33, which is the heavens. It's Master Teacher. So whenever this card comes up, when it's not showing an individual, it's just showing the whole process of life. So, as I was mentioning, you start off with the red where you feel your emotions and react. You're in reaction mode, like I mentioned, like the bull. You see the red and you go. Then you move up into the orange where it's more, you're seeing your emotions rise like a sunset. And so you're seeing it at a distance. So you're not really feeling them as more reaction anymore. You kind of see them coming and you understand what's coming. So it's less reactive and it's more kind of investigating your emotions. And then you move into the yellow, which is the sun overhead. So you feel the heat, but you're making different decisions. And so you're more moving into responding to your emotions instead of reacting. And then you move up into the heart chakra. And the heart chakra is really where the conditional world starts resolving with the unconditional love world, because the unconditional love, this is where we feel it in our heart. So that's when we start to wake up to remembering that unconditional love that we had. And then we move up into the throat chakra. And the throat chakra is where there's actions. So that's where we start acting out of unconditional love, and we start having that love come out through our speech, through our actions with our arms, and just through our decisions in our life. So that's where action starts to happen with that. And as all that happens, then we move up into the third eye chakra, which is where really we start to see beyond this realm. We start to see the synchronicities, we start to activate more of our supernatural gifts, like the knowing, having dreams, even mediumship, and just all those wonderful heavenly gifts. And then we end up to the crown chakras, where we really ultimately connect to that unconditional love, where instead of it being 10% unconditional, 20, 30, 40, we're getting where the majority of our life is run by unconditional love instead of conditional love. So that's kind of the process. And so that's kind of what your guys are telling you is, understand that, know where you're at in that. And that'll help you, work through this. Remembering who you really are will really, help balance that out for you. And lastly, we get into expressing conditional love. So this can be, how do you, when you realize that where you're at and you connect with your unconditional love, how then can you express that unconditional love to the world? Or because of all this, and or within this situation, how is unconditional love being shown to you? And oddly enough, a 3 and a 3 and a 6 again, so we're going to have to look up what 6s are. Because we're going to go 6 from the top once we finish shuffling here. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so like we were talking about visions. So this has a variety of ways. Of course, it's, having, flashes and daydreams, also seeing higher. So, you start to see other people, when you're interacting with someone, you start to feel and see kind of in your third eye, in your mind's eye, this behind the scenes, what's really going on. You get to see the higher person that's behind them as well. You can be dreaming dreams, anything that has to do with a sight of somehow. And that is how, with these types of situations, you'll start to activate and kind of see those types of things. All right, well, so if you chose this tree, that is your reading. Let me know in the comment section if you have any questions on this. I also have some links off to my website, which has some videos that kind of go into some of these different items as well, so they can kind of, tell you a little bit more about each of these items if you have a little more of some questions about that as well. So if you like this, go ahead and hit subscribe if you would, and click that little alarm bell, because I'll be doing more readings in addition to these cards. But if you want to get a little notification, just hit that little bell as well, and you'll get a little update. All right, I wish you guys a great day. You take care. All right, if you picked number 2 for the crystal ball, then this will be your reading. And I am going to use a new deck that I'm working on, which I'm calling the Loved from Above Adventure cards, also the Deep Dive deck. So this basically, purpose of the deck is just to kind of focus in on what your spirit guides or spirit just want you to be focusing on. We kind of go through 7 stacks. It's like a 7-stack adventure. And I'll kind of explain it as we're going along. So of course, we start with stack number 1, which this will talk about what emotional wave are you currently surfing. So we'll start off on the top of the wave and kind of go from there. So we'll go ahead and shuffle here and see what comes up. And see what the focus for you will be for the beginning of this new year. All right. It's so funny, this is what came up for the first one as well. So there must be a lot of stress going on in the world. I can't imagine. So of course the root of stress has to do with fears igniting in us for a variety of reasons, and we'll get more into details as we go into the deep dive. But kind of a foundation of it all is, there's so much that we feel needs to happen in our lives in order for us to be happy, in order for us to be lovable and acceptable. So we got this long list of things that need to get done for us to feel safe. So with all that hitting us, we have this long list of urgent matters, but how much of it is really important? So stress is what we're going to focus in on. What's awesome with these cards is Spirit, in addition to having, fear emotions, they actually even provide kind of a way to transform the fear into peace and into love. So here it's focus on the important. So like we're talking about, there's so many things that seem urgent, but are they really important? So if we make a list of all the things that are in our mind and all the things that are stressing us out, we can put it on to urgent and important, and we can see how small the list of important things is when we get down to it. And then even when you have that list of important things, looking at it and getting rid of it, we could probably move some of those things off the important list onto the urgent list, and they're really not as important as we think they are when we really have a chance to calmly look at them. So we're going to go ahead and we'll look in a little more into stress here. And what we'll do, how this works, is you take these two numbers and add them till we get down to a single digit. And so this would be 3 plus 3 equals 6. And it's a negative, so once we shuffle this other, we'll go ahead and take it from the bottom of the deck, since it is a minus. All right, so the next thing that we'll look at is we go into the fears. So what is sparking the emotional waves? So we start the waves and we kind of drop under the waves to see some more information on what's going on there. So we'll go ahead and kind of shuffle it up here. All right, so we'll do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. All right, so for this one, we've got the unforgiven, and it's so funny. This is a -6, and that was a -6. So the other one had 6s on it too, the other reading. So I'm really going to look up this numerology and find out what these 6s are about, because there's some sort of message coming around. I'll be surprised if there's not 6s in the rest of these. So unforgiven, one of the biggest things with stress is we have a fear that, we're going to break one of these conditional love laws, as I call them, that long list of things that I mentioned that need to be accomplished. If we fear that we're going to get rejected and we're going to be deemed unlovable if we don't meet those criteria, then that keeps us in this cage. We're trapped by all those roles and ever-changing and sometimes contradictory, roles that have been taught to us since we were very young. We also might be stressing because when we have ourselves under all those laws, by golly, we're going to keep everyone else under it as well. So we're going to keep them in a cage, making sure that they obey all our rules, and they're going to wonder, why you have them do that? Because those aren't my rules, and you're not obeying my rules. So, this conditional love and all these expectations that we have on what life should be and what life is supposed to be really keep us caged, because a lot of times reality doesn't meet up to expectations, but only 100% of the time. So again, spirits provided us kind of a key to help us out of the cage, and that's letting the wrath go. And that basically has us look and question, all those expectations that we have, all those shoulds. Really, who told us those, and are they really have to be that way, or could it be a different way? And when we begin to question and kind of, look at all those roles that we have, that starts to help us be free. And then it also helps us release other people as well. So we'll dig a little further in here. And so what we go to next is the contrast stack. And what this does is this takes us even deeper. So, the reason why we come here to Earth, my belief is that, we're these beings of light, of unconditional love, powerful, supernatural, and eternal. And to more understand who we are, we come here to experience who we're not. So that's the contrast. So kind of the examples I use is, when we experience like sadness, we understand happiness more deeply. And when we, experience anger, we understand what peace is. Experience hate, love, stress, joy. So all those things help us understand that. So we'll look at what is at the root of these fears and these emotions next. So again, we had a -6, so we'll go 6 from the bottom of the deck once we shuffle real quick here and see what is happening. I wonder if I'll have another 6 in there. It's starting to freak me out a little bit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Oh, okay, 7. So rejected. Of course, we ultimately fear being rejected. But what this has to do with, actually has to do with a little bit of manipulation tactics. And it's part 3 of manipulation. Because number 1, and this might sound familiar to you, have been done to you, or as I discovered what I used to do. So the first part is we act hurt. Oh, you hurt me when you didn't do what I wanted you to do. Sometimes that works, the tear gets them to bend their will and do what I wanted them to do. If that doesn't work, then I choose we try to bully them, and anger. We get angry and we try to make them do what we want them to do. And if that doesn't work, then we do the rejection, because we think if that's the ultimate fear that most of us fear, if I reject them, then they'll be like, wait, don't reject me, I'll do what you want. And then, of course, if that doesn't work, we wash, rinse, repeat, and we start from the beginning and do it all over again. So if that resonates with you, if that's been done to you, you'll realize it. And when you start to see it happen, you're like, wait a minute, I see what's going on. But so for you, the card that at the root of this is the fear, of being rejected. And it also might be that for some of you that you're punishing people by that rejection just to prove your point, and to try to get them to do what you want them to do. So there could be some soul searching with that too. But for most of us, I think it's, people are rejecting us, or we fear being rejected, and that's where our stress is coming from. But no fear, we are moving on to the Tools of Light stack. And what this does is this provides us some guidance, some additional guidance than these other items on here too, just on what can assist us in transforming this fear into love and into peace. So since we got a 7 here, we'll do 7 from the top once I shuffle real quick here, and we'll see what additional guidance your angels and guides and spirit have for us. Okay, so we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. The power of thank you. This is one of the powerful superpowers that we have to overcome fear. When we deal with lack, and fearing things being removed from our life or not having what we think we need to be content, when we can start with just looking at one thing that we're grateful for, starting with just one, even if it's just that I woke up today and I'm breathing, start there, and then look for another, and then another, and then another. Actually, a couple years ago, I got a little journal and I made it a thank you journal, like a gratitude journal. And I started, my original plan was to do it for 30 days, is to write something I was thankful for every day without repeating what I was thankful for. I ended up going for over 3 months without repeating anything. And I could have continued to go on for a very long time, but it just kind of hit me and it totally transformed my life. Because, once you start focusing on what you're thankful for, your energy flows into being thankful and grateful and brings you more things to be grateful for. But if you're focused on your lack, focused on what you don't have, your energy also flows into that and brings you more lack and more things not to be thankful for. So we're very powerful beings. So power of thank you is a great tool to kind of do that. And if you guys have other ways that you've done develop your, a habit of thinking, put that in comments down below. I'd be very happy to hear those too. Next, we go on to the stack of, I call it seeing the characters. So this little drama act that's going on down here, this kind of helps us see what character am I playing in this, and or what other characters are playing in this, because sometimes we need a villain, a victim, and a hero for the little drama, right? So we'll take a look at that, and that was 4. So we'll do 4 from the top once we shuffle real quick here. There we go. All right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Excuse me. Beautiful. So we've got the sun, which is the master builder. 22 is one of the master numbers. So the sun in this case represents you. It can be, this actually is the zodiac sign. So it starts from the sun and works its all the way out to Pluto. And so the sun sign being you in this case. So you are the primary, you're the star, you're the star of your show. So, when it gets down to the root, what spirit wants you to know and what your guides want you to know is that, it doesn't feel good at first when you find out, what, it's all about me? But then you find out, hey, it is all about me, which it's not out of your control. I know when I first was told, your life, you decided what you wanted to have happen in it. I'm like, I'm responsible for all this. It's like, well, but also it gave me my power back because I realized no one can tell me what to believe. No one can tell me what to think. And no matter what happens in my life, I have the power to decide what it means and what it doesn't. I have the power to burn away what I don't want, and I have the power to shine my light on whatever needs to happen to make it grow. I am the master builder of my own life. So, great observation, great, discovery. So shine bright, shine bright. Superpower. Then we move on to the next stack, which this shows you, with all this that's going on, how does that fit into your spiritual path on the chakra atlas? So, again, 2 plus 2 is 4 there. So we'll go 4 from the top once we have here, and then I'll kind of explain, depending on what card we get here, just how much detail we need to get into there for you. All right. So we got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Very good. So this is the root chakra. So this is the chakra that we start at. And you can notice a little red bull down here. What that is not a drink, although that's generally when we kind of get reactive. A bull sees red and it reacts to its emotions. It charges, and that's basically what this is about. We come here for the experience. When I talked about the contrast, that's what our soul comes here for, to have this human experience. This is where we discover our fears. We battle, we defend, we attack. It's all about conditional love. And we're like the caterpillar crawling on the forest floor. We haven't started to cocoon yet to transform into a butterfly. We're, on the bottom there. The theme of the root chakra is I seek love. Where we seek love, the crown chakra, which is the purple, at the very top of our journey, that's what brings us unconditional love. So that's the journey from the, lower root chakra, and we move up through the other chakras to journey back to, who we really are. So this is, for this area on the map, where this is happening is to help you with this experience here. One of the things that can help you with this is if you meditate on I am unconditionally loved. And I'll link a link to a video that I have on these meditations that were given to me by Spirit, and it's really great because the focus is looking at the creator of all things and just realizing and saying out loud, closing your eyes, taking a deep breath, and really believing in your heart, I am unconditionally loved by the creator of all things. And if you just make that and say that several times, believing it and thinking on it and feeling that love energy just come from the heavens and just fill your heart, can really be a transitional experience for sure. All right. And then we'll move on to the last deck. So this one is, how can I express my unconditional love? So through this process, any of the fear experiences we have, every moment's either of conditional love or of unconditional love. So when we have this kind of pain happen and the stress and the fears, it's a prick, and it'll eventually awaken us to our unconditional love, and it's a reminder to point back to our heart. So once we start to wake up with that, this will look and see how you can express your unconditional love, but also during this process, how may unconditional love may have been shown to you as well. So we'll take a look at that. And again, we have 4 and 3, which is a 7 here. So we'll do 7 from the top here. Let's shuffle really quick here. We had a lot of 6s, 7s, and 4s in here with all those adding up. That's kind of beginning to study numerology. There's so many wonderful things. There's numbers everywhere that are just jumping out. Okay, so we'll go 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. Guiding love. So what's wonderful about this card, this means that you can show unconditional love, or unconditional love can be shown to you through kind of like being a mentor. So if you have a mentor who is really grounded in unconditional love and they're showing that to you and guiding you in that, that could be coming up with this. Or, with having gone through this, a way that maybe you feel encouraged is to be, like a teacher, a mentor, a spiritual life coach, something that you're helping guide others, whether it's a big brother or big sister, or just being, a mentor to someone that's gone through some of these same things that you have. And, we all are students here, and we're all teachers because no one's gone through everything we've gone through. So we always have something that we can help others with. Because I might have taken Spanish but not chemistry, and you've taken chemistry, not Spanish. Well, I can help you with Spanish, and you can help me with chemistry. So, you can always be a guiding light of love for others. So some great stuff here. And another 6. So, hopefully some of this resonated with you. I'd love to hear any comments you have about this type of reading in the comments below. I'm going to be doing other readings in the future, so if you like this and you want to, get informed of when I'll be doing others, just go ahead and, click subscribe in the bottom and click that little bell, and then you'll get notified when I have another one. So if you chose the crystal ball, that's your reading for the beginning of the year here. I wish you the best and have a very, very happy rest of your day. All right, welcome to reading number 3. If you picked the fancy little crystal there, then this is your reading. Going to be using my new deck that I'm working on, and it is basically, I'm calling it the Loved from Above adventure cards, and I also call it the Deep Dive deck. And kind of what it does is it helps just pinpoint what your spirit guides, angels, spirit, creator want you to know about what kind of emotions you're dealing with right now. Kind of some tools on how you can convert those fears into love and peace. So we'll kind of just look at it as we're going along here in the process here. So we'll start off first here by looking at the fear emotion. We're on the waves of the emotion, kind of surfing, as it says here. And we'll see what your spirit guides, the creator, would like to point out. All right. So the fear that is coming up is shame. And I know a lot of us have experienced this in our life if we're not going through it right now, for sure. And it has to do, of course, with judgment. Gosh, we all have so much pressure on us, and so many roles that are, put on us by school and parents and religions and state laws and federal laws and opinions and expectations of everyone left and right. I mean, there's so many things. And of course, there's things that are on the extreme list in our minds that, some things are like, so I made a mistake. So this happened. Not a big deal. But there's things that bring us shame, which is a very deep felt guilt. And that's why we have the judging hammer that comes down, that shame, punishment, which really no one punishes us worse usually than ourselves. So this is our hand that's knocking us upside the head with that mallet. We'll get into more details here in a moment. But one of the wonderful things about these cards is that Spirit also gives us little advice along the way, which I kind of call higher wisdom advice. And it helps convert and help us comfort us with these fears. And what they mention here is seeing yourself through God's eyes. Now, with this deck, this God is the God of unconditional love, no conditions. There's nothing you can do to lose, God's love, the Creator's love. There's nothing you can do to gain more of it, because you have 100% of it endlessly. So when dealing with shame, it's like, who's accusing you? In the Christian Bible, it talked about when they were going to stone, the adulterous woman. Jesus had said, whoever's without sin, you cast the first stone. No judgment, unconditional love. So seeing through the eyes of an unconditionally loving Creator can help us with this fear. So next we'll go into stack number 2 and go a little below the surface of those fear waves there. and just find out what is sparking those emotional waves and see what the kind of the base fear is on that. So, and then I didn't explain kind of what we do here. So to see what the next card is we add these two numbers together, and any numbers here till we get down to one number. So 3 plus 1 is 4, and this would be a minus 4. So we'll take the fourth card from the bottom of the deck after we shuffle here and see what is on here. And get a little more data on what is driving this. All right. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. All right. So we got the soulmate card, and that's not misspelled. It's not soulmate, it's soulmeat. This one, if you can see his little things. So Spirit gave me all these cards, and they still crack me up. But so this one is basically, the crux of it is, we're told that there is this one that we need to find that is going to be the one that will complete us, and the one that will give us everything we need. And so kind of the base of it is that, well, I see something in someone else that I want, so I consume them, or I try to obtain them to have that for myself. So if I own that, if I possess that, then that is mine. So it's a way of consuming another individual, when we really, what we see in another person that we admire, we can develop that within ourselves without eating anyone. So kind of what is coming up for this shame, if you picked this particular reading, the shame seems to be rooted in interactions with relationships. So and that can be more than just a kind of partnership type of relationship. It can be parent child, teacher student. It could be any kind of actual relationship interaction, not necessarily romantic on there. But so the shame that is kicking in here has to do with some of those rules that maybe you didn't have about how a relationship should interact, but possibly how they felt a relationship should be, that you betrayed that trust. Or it also can be your reaction to other people. I do feel for some of you it is, we have, so many of us have these very, very high expectations and bars that we set for ourselves. So there is a lot of shame in that I wasn't the person that I should have been for that other person, whether it be a friend or lover. And with us being a group reading, there's just so many examples that could fit this case here. So if it resonates with you, then what the situation is that's bringing you shame. What's great though is that again, here is some soothing items. Look, you can eat, here's this comfort food. But Love Burger is the first one, and this is a pretty funny story that I'll tell you real quick, because I had a friend of mine who, she was dating this guy, and she was waiting for him to say those magic words of "I love you," and he finally did. And she was telling me and a friend as we were going down, one of the corridors at work, and she was so excited, and my other friend was so excited for her, and she turned to me and said, with wanting eyes of what do you think? Validate me, kind of way. And I said, well, I love cheeseburgers. She was like, what? It's like, well, when someone says something, I love this, I love that, what does that mean about me? I don't think the cheeseburger cared that I told them I love them. So it really has to deal with, okay, it's an awareness around getting that external validation of who I am by how someone feels about me. And then for dessert, you can have the spice cake mantra, which the spice cake mantra is this little mantra that kind of came to me in my life. And it basically goes, and you can replace spice cake with whatever kind of dessert you want. I know not everyone likes spice cake. But so it basically starts, I am my own spice cake. And the love of my friends and family is the frosting on top of the spice cake. And my accomplishments in life are the cherry on top of the frosting, on top of the spice cake. And my intimate, loving relationships are the whipped topping on top of the cherry, on top of the frosting, on top of the spice cake. And if for some reason I don't have the whipped topping, or if I don't have the cherry on top, and if for some reason all my family and friends are no longer on earth, because that's the only way they'd stop loving me on earth if they were no longer here, even if I don't have all of that, I would still be an awesome frickin' spice cake. And what that does is it kind of puts everything into perspective. It's like all those external things are extra. I am the foundation, and I am what matters for my love and for my, validation. I am my own spice cake. So just some information on that. Next we'll go on to this next stack, which is the contrast stack. Basically what this is I have this belief that, we're these beings of light. We're supernatural, powerful, eternal spirit beings made from unconditional love. And we come here to, a dark, conditional love world to experience what we're not so we could better understand what we are. So examples are like, if we experience sadness, we understand more what happiness is. If we experience anger, we understand more what peace is. When we experience depression, we understand more what joy is. And so, the more fear, uncomfortable emotions we experience in this realm, the more we understand who we are really, because we're that opposite. So this will kind of tell us, just with this situation that's going on, what contrast is it helping us understand about ourselves. Put all the cards back. There we go. And then this one's a -3, so we'll go 3 cards from the bottom once I finish on here. All right. So we've got 1, 2, and 3. Imagine that. So, half moon. Basically, what this is showing you, this is a reinforcement of what I just basically have talked about, which is the contrast. A half moon can also show us that, we can be focusing on, what haven't I learned, and look what I'm not able to overcome. And it basically shows you that you have been working on this, and you've been taking some steps to overcome it, because it's like you're halfway there, just keep going, but focus on what you have accomplished. If you keep on focusing like, I'm still not perfect, I'm still not perfect, I'm still not perfect, don't look at that. What this is showing is that, you have a choice what to focus on, and whatever you focus on more brings more of that. So if you focus on, look how far I've come, you'll go further. If you look at how much further I have to go, and I'm not going that far, then you kind of slip back in the mud. So this is all about just realize that this experience is for a reason, and it's not a punishment. And I'm hearing a message of life isn't happening to you, it's happening for you. To you, for you. Life is happening for you. Very nice. All right. So now we'll move into kind of a nice positive aspect of what's going on here. And this is called the tools of light. And this is what can assist me in transforming, that's a new word, transforming my fear into love and into peace. So we'll take a look here. And that was an 8, a positive 8. So we will go ahead and go 8 cards from the top as soon as I shuffle. And 8 is a number of cycles too, so it shows that infinity. So kind of circular cycle. So it's kind of another message with that. So we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Very nice. So this this is actually I have some meditations on this, which I'll post down in the description of the video. But I unconditionally love the world. The whole kind of little meditation starts in the bringing down the unconditional love from the Creator down into our heart by kind of focusing on I am unconditionally loved. And then once that love gets inside of us and it starts to build and get bigger, we realize I am unconditional love. Like I talked about, we're these beings made from unconditional love. So I am unconditional love. And then once you fill up, then that unconditional love flows out to the world. And so this is just showing that one of the tools of life that can help you with, overcoming this feeling of shame is to give love unconditionally, through your actions. That's why the hearts are on the hands. It's through your actions giving love, through your speech. That's why the heart's on the mouth, to give that, and just sending love. If it's someone that you don't have any interactions with, you can send it from your heart to them as well over great distances. So it's a wonderful meditation, and I really highly encourage it because it definitely transforms your life and your fears and brings all your energy. It just activates it in a wonderful way. All right, that was a 20, so 2 plus 0 is 2. So we'll go 2 from the top once we do this. And what this stack is about is what characters are appearing in this dramatic act. So it's either what kind of character am I playing in this, or what other characters are involved in this. So it just helps bring some clarity around it, because every dramatic act usually needs at least a victim, usually a villain, and sometimes a hero. So that's what this will help us identify here. So we'll go ahead and do a little shuffle here. And we'll go down 2. Because it takes 2 to tango, don't it? That's 1 and 2. Very nice. So this deck actually has to do with the zodiac, and it usually moves from the sun all the way out to Pluto. But Earth is generally the only planet that's kind of left out of like the zodiac planets and stuff, because that's where we're at when everything's happening. And this actually kind of represents my world. So what this is showing you is that as the world turns, this is your soap opera. This is your show. You're the one that is the director, the producer, the star. You're everything in this. It's your world. Your perceptions of everything is what is making that your world. But what is wonderful about that is because you are the director of the show, you get to change it if you want to. If you're done feeling this shame and this pain, you're the one that can do a plot twist. You're the one that can change it into something completely different. So that's powerful. Good news. I know when you first realize that you're the one calling the shots, you can feel bad about it, but then you realize, wait, I'm calling the shots. Then you get your power back. So that's a 5 plus 2, which is a 7. So we'll go 7 from the top once we do this. And what this is, the chakra atlas, is kind of the how does this whole experience fit into your spiritual path? It's like, where on the map is it pointing you to in regards to your spiritual journey? So not your physical, but kind of your spiritual journey here. Okay, and we'll do 7 cards really quick here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 7. Very nice. So this is this has to do with all the chakras. So this, of course, is the crown chakra, which is the chakra at the very, very top. It's the one, it's the master. It's the place where we integrate unconditional love. You know, it's where you remember that you are. You remember who you are. You remember that you're bliss. And you experience bliss. And where the root chakra, which is the very base chakra, is where you're a caterpillar walking along the forest floor. This is where you've come out of your cocoon and you're a butterfly and you're flying in the sky. So, you know, this whole experience here is to help you, strengthen you. One of the things that it's kind of well known more now than ever, but with a butterfly, like if you slice the cocoon and open it up and let it out, the struggle of escaping from the cocoon is what builds the muscles of the wings of the butterfly so it can fly. So if you cut open the cocoon and take it out without it going through that struggle, it can't fly because its wings aren't strong enough. So that message is coming through for you, that this is teaching you, this is strengthening your wings so you can fly. Kind of the theme of the crown chakra, the top chakra, is I return. I remember who I am. Powerful, eternal love. And the meditation that helps with this, which is the first one I talked to you about, was I am unconditionally loved. So it's that realization that you are royalty. You are a drop of the sea of the creator. I mean, you're a little mini creator. You're the master. So, and here's the sun. So good stuff there. All right. And then we move on to the last stack, which this has to do with, you know, once you're going through this and once you are igniting your unconditional love through this process, how can you express your unconditional love to the world? You know, how do you do that? You know, if you're wondering, you know, what can I do? What are my spiritual gifts? How can I express my love to the world? This is what will show up on here. Also, this can show you that during this process, how is unconditional love coming to you? Okay, and then we had a 4 there, 4 plus 0, so we'll go 4 down here. All right, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Wonderful. It's the whispers. These are the whispers of love. You know, when we connect with that love, as our fear noise gets quieter, we hear the whispers of love. You know, that's, you might have had intuition and those gut feelings, and that's kind of the beginning of it. It gets so much louder and so much clearer. And there's so many voices in our head as we're growing up, you know, on who you should be and shouldn't be, and da-da-da-da-da-da, and there's so many voices that eventually we weed them out. And there's one that will stand out among them all, that's never lied, that's always loving, that's always unconditionally loving and supportive. And you start to hear that voice from within. Some people hear whispers like audibly. I haven't heard yet. I'll probably poop my pants if I ever had one audibly talk to me, but maybe one day. I'm getting braver, so we'll see. But you definitely can hear them in your heart, hear them in your thoughts. with me, how I hear messages is like it's like dropped into my head like a memory I'm remembering. So things like that can happen to you. So if you chose this crystal, it could be that you have some abilities, even mediumship. If you'd want to do like any kind of tarot readings, things like that. Angels are out there. Angels, guides, the Holy Spirit, the spirit of the essence of unconditional love of the Creator, the Creator. I would say on the other side of every reading, every prayer, every meditation, there's a host of supernatural, powerful, unconditioned loving beings just ready there to listen, to speak, and to give us their love. So if you chose this crystal, this is your reading. I hope some of it resonated with you. If you have any questions or any comments on the reading itself, I'd love to hear it. I'm kind of starting off with this deck, so you guys are kind of my guinea pigs, my first kind of group reading. I'm using these. So I know it's kind of an unusual type of reading compared to some of the other ones that you see out there. But I hope it brought some good information for you. So if you want to get any more future readings, I'm going to do other card readings as well in the future here. Just go ahead and click the subscribe button down below. Click on that little bell, and you'll get notified the next time I post a reading here in the near future. So I appreciate you very much, and I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day and a great beginning of your new year. You take care.